Now I please welcome Mr. Ranjan Singhania, the founder of Dream Legal, who will give the presentation on how legal teams can make the best out of the technology selection. Mr. Singhania.
Hello. Can anyone recognize the clip we just saw on the screen? So the video which we played was from the movie Mr. Founder. It's a movie on McDonald's, how it became a so global big chain company. So what we saw was the obsession of the founder there with the process of how they were making burgers. Now you would see the precision in the process they were following in terms of who would do what, where, and how. So today we are talking about technology. Like our every other discussion is about how legal teams can make the best out of technology. But I have learned that the right answers are found when we address the right questions. So before going into how we can make use of best technology, we need to answer three questions, like why we want to use technology, how we can use the technology, and for what we need to use the technology. We did an interesting survey there that how many of the legal teams want to use technology, and the response was 87%. Like 87% of the legal teams wanted to use technology. Then we asked second question, how many of them are actually using technology? And the response dropped to 54%. Now the third question we followed with, how many are actually satisfied or happy with the technology? And the response falls down to 16%. So now we need to figure out, let's say if legal teams wants to make the use of technology, why this stat is so low? And this is what I would try to answer from my experience. Although I'm very much younger, my age is equal to your experience in legal, but I would like to share some experiences. So what we are discussing today is like the perfect tech strategy that legal teams can use today and how they can benefit in the process. So as we mentioned, our first question, why we need technology. So I was having a discussion with a couple of legal heads here, and they were mentioning that everything looks on top of their plates. Everything is urgent for them. Every business request comes, it's like it has to be done by the evening. So how do you address those urgencies? How do you manage those priorities and everything? That's where the question of why comes in. And I discovered a very interesting framework on how we can do this. So everything in legal department is problem. Not that we are the problem creators, but our nature of work is such that we need to solve the problems. Now you would see that the legal professionals, whatever problem they face, has a very significant impact. And one of my mentors very strategically categorized it into like what can be the impact on business, what can be the impact of that problem on legal department, or is it just a problem of an individual legal professional or a team member? Now that was the importance of problem we started picking in legal departments. Now let's say for an example, there is a legal member or a team member who is trying to track the compliances. He might be bored or he might not be that effective, but that single problem can significantly impact the business. Let's say you miss a compliance and there is a huge penalty on business. Now this is a small problem but having an impact on business. Now let's say the legal team where it's sitting, the chairs aren't that comfortable. So the whole legal team is facing a problem, but it's not an impact of a problem on business. So yeah, it's not important. So that's how whenever you start your tech journey, the best way to figure it out, what are the problems you are facing as a legal department and categorize it, whether it's impacting your business or it's just impacting your legal teams or it's just a problem of a single legal team member who is facing today. And that's how you start solving it through tech. So by nature, of course, the first problems you're going to solve is impact on business. So this is how we can cover up why we need to use tech. That is to solve the legal problems, the problems of the legal members that are impacting the business directly. Some more examples, like let's say we are drafting a contract, we missed a major clause that has to be part of it by standard. And now we end up in a huge dispute. So again, a major problem for the business, which was a problem of a legal department. So the goal of tech adoption should be to cover all those problems which can significantly impact the business. Now coming up to how we can use tech or how should we actually approach the tech. So by statistically, there are more than 9,200 legal tech solutions in the planet, like be it USA, UK. There are more than 9,200 legal tech solutions, and they will promise you moons and stars. Not that they are not offering that, but there is a very strategic selection because the requirements are so peculiar. Today, let's say there is a legal department in IT sector. They have their different contracting problems. Let's say we talk about any different FMCG sector. They have their own compliances. Now, which tech can solve what is the major question what we want to answer. Now, also one key insight, out of 9,200 legal tech companies, 1,400 are directly made for the Indian use cases, like how Indian legal members, legal departments and law firms can use. So now the question comes, how you gonna select that one perfect tech that can actually solve your problem? And I came up with three major questions. Again, I usually have a conversation with my mentors and we try to figure out things objectively. So everything rests down to three major questions. So the first strategy we take is either you build your own tech or you buy from those 1,400 solutions. So by nature, like building a tech is a whole new use case. Like it's a challenge. Like having your own IT team building a solution where legal is every time changing on daily basis. So it's always a better option to buy the existing company tech instead of going into your own build use case. But again, I have seen companies like Infosys and other big MNCs who try also to build their own solutions. But always a good way to start is buy the existing tech solution, try to understand your use cases, and then go with the strategy. Now, second questions we also see. So there are major categories of compliance tech, contract tech, litigation tech, and so more. So whether you should go with individual tech vendors or to have a single vendor providing for all. It's again strategic and it's very nature-wise different. Some legal leaders want to have very specific solutions for their specific problems, but some want convenience by having a single vendor providing for all. Now the third question, which is very relevant today, the on-premise development of it or the cloud solution. So we must be aware of terms like SaaS and all. We are familiar with using SaaS solutions, but the major concerns come about what is the privacy. Are they using enough standards of saving or securing our data or not? So we have an option that you can go with an on-premise development, like having your own cloud and running the solution over that. So these are the three questions you should answer when you're trying to figure out how you want to go with tech. Now coming up to what tech you need. So we have figured out why you need a tech, how you need tech. Now what tech you need. So basically whenever you are having your last 5 vendors you want to select, let's say you are looking for a CLM solution and you have your 5 vendors, it should always make that 4 check, what we call it 4-fit check. Again, not a very bookish theory, but that I just like to build things on framework. So I came up with this 4-fit check, that is, first is fit for need. Whether it's fitting the requirements of your team. Now what I mean is that you would have a very glorious tech in front of you with lots of features. But after 6 months, you would be seeing that none of your legal team member is actually using it. It is just glorified by the sense of its features, but it cannot integrate to your workflows. So that fit of need is something when it comes that your legal team members can actually use within. Let's say your legal team is into drafting a contract. There are 3 members involved. Now, by their usual workflow, let's say they start with a template, go into Word, MS Word, try to change the metadata of the, let's say, party name, some clauses and all. Now, where that existing CLM you're trying to explore can fit in, whether it has got Word integration or not, or whether if they are bringing to their own interface, whether your team is comfortable with that interface. So that type of fit for need is what you need to check. Now, fit for workflow. So workflow is something similar to fit for need, but we talk about workflow in a larger sense. When your whole organization is whether following that process and a tech can be part of it or not. So this is what fit for workflow. Now, fit for team is like, let's say your sales team is involved in a contract with terms and everything. Whether they are convenient of collaborating on that, whether the license of the vendor of the CLM you're using restricts only legal team members. So you need to check whether it's a fit for team or not. And lastly, of course, fit for budget. Like, are you in the budget? And not just in terms of cost, but the investments you made and the ROI you are expecting out of it. Now, this ROI is a very trickier part. Like, let's say you are paying 50K of subscription annually for a CLM solution. So how you can determine an ROI? So it's just not that you are saving salaries or something like that. It's a very small aspect. But let's say because of that CLM, you avoided a major dispute which might have arisen. Or let's say you are having more faster turnaround time for your clients. You're easily closing them. So these are the ROI which you need to catch up. And the ROI is always exponential when you start picking. So I've always seen that smile curve, that the excitement of tech is very high when it's onboarded, then it goes low because there is no adoption. But when we cross that stage, it starts rising up, what we call hockey stick curve. So that is the tech journey what every legal team can go. So that was all for the presentation, and I'm no one to guide anyone of you here, but I just picked up some conversations all throughout my journey of the 2 years. So one interesting problem I came across, that legal heads were always on top of mind that they want to have something that delivers for them like a junior. So let's say you have a tech today, we have so many AI solutions. As a general counsel, you just feel like, hey, tell me all the contracts available for this party and what are the points or the obligations I need to manage. So that's what AI can do for you. So legal heads as a tech are not using as a technical strategy. They don't want to have fancy solutions with them. They want to have convenience. So that is the point you want to make today. Whenever you're going for a tech adoption, you just prioritize your convenience. And that comes with a process. First, identify the problems, label it in a way that what is the impact on the business. That is the first step. The second step, you choose out your vendors and do the fit check, the 4 fit check we discussed here. And once you are past that, you can go with your final vendor. So that's all on the framework what we can use. Now, some few 2 words about me. I'm a very fresh graduate from Symbiosis Law School, Pune. I did my last semester in April 2025. So I was interning under a legal head and a couple of senior advocates as well. And it was COVID time. So a Blue Jeans app came out for the video conferencing of Supreme Court cases. And I saw the struggle of lawyers, that how they were anxious about going to that online interface. What if the network goes down? What if I am not able to log in? So I saw that first-hand anxiety in the minds of lawyers, that, okay, this is so anxious thing for them when they want to use tech. By the rule, we have seen every sector having the influence of tech, and legal is no different. Be it today or by 2030, tech has to come in picture. It's like, let's say, today we are using smartphones. How shittiest or the bullshit the smartphones goes, but we will never be going back to keypad-based phones. That's how the addictiveness happens with the tech. That would be happening to legal as well. So I figured out this is a good idea where I can handhold legal teams and help them in the tech strategy, that what are the right tech, where are the tech, what are the problems you can solve with the tech. And that's how I got into Dream Legal. I'm the founder. My name is Ranjan Singhania, and we are helping legal departments in making the best tech strategies. So you must be feeling like I'm here trying to grab some clients and all, but I'm more here to learn, because whatever conversation I'm happening here, it's always insightful for me, because no one's practiced tech at the moment, because you already have lots of issues to solve. But in a slower run, this is how you should approach tech. Have a goal, a year goal, that you want to have faster contract turnaround time. Let's start with contracts. So best way, we are doing compliances, IP, litigations, contracts. What is the most problematic area out of them? Let's say litigation. Your major challenge is tracking litigation across the year. So you try to go into a dashboard where you can track all the litigation, which is very popular already. Then you try to find a tech that can do automatically for you, automatically intaking all the cases, preparing your cost list and everything. That's how you should approach tech. With a journey of 2 years, you would be a significant legal team. We saw McD's case study. I call it the butter-like system of legal department, where one thing we can pick from all the discussions we had today, like we are so important business enablers, like our value has grown. Another survey I did last time, I remember, with the CEOs, like there were 120 CEOs who responded, what do you think of legal function? And the words I got, one words like anxiety, expensive, obligation, hindrance. Legal team is always seen like those terms, contrary to which we are instead enabling everything. So I guess if we can run as smooth as the McD's kitchen, things would be so different. Now it looks so unimportant at first glance, but when you actually adopt it, it's very powerful given the times the things are changing and how fast we're expected to respond. So this was all from my side. Thank you for your time. I'm very honored to be in front of such privileged and esteemed audience. Thank you so much. I would like to have a couple of questions if anyone. Maybe I can start with someone if anyone want to share your experience with tech. What do you think is tech necessity or not? And then I would like to end this. Thank you.
Thank you. Very insightful. And yes, the four fit criterias which you said, I think that's aptly summarized whenever a legal tech tool has to be onboarded. I would like to learn from you, does how does Dream Legal integrate AI, and how would you bring more convenience for me?
Uh, so, like, we are not yet having our own tech, but basically, we are strategizing how legal departments can use tech. So, we basically act as case studies. Let's say we start with your legal department. We figure out on a very basic first-hand principles. What is your major headache? So, I ask this one question. So, whenever you enter your office, what is that one thing that is pestering your mind? Is it tracking on your emails at the morning or something? What? Then we start identifying your pain areas, and it's always the best way to start on broader terms. It's compliances, it's contracts or litigation. Then we figure out, let's say, contracts. What are the key KPIs that is harming you? It's like drafting is a challenge, or negotiations are delayed, or it's like post obligation management, or you see your contracts are getting lapsed and you're not renewing it. So we identify such challenges. Then we see whether a tech is a solution or it's just a habitual thing which needs to be solved. And it's harder to accept, but tech is the answer to major of the questions. I'm not forcing it, but it's true. So let's say we figure out tech is the answer, then which tech you should go with. As I mentioned, there are so many solutions in the market. Then once we have your very crisp requirements, then we do the vendor analysis of who can provide the best in your own terms, and we would be helping you in onboarding it. So that is what how gonna help you.
Okay, so you're like a project manager for legal
Yeah,
team.
it's very
Got
well
it.
said, ma'am. Thank you for the
Thank you.
term. Yeah.
First of all, Ranjan, I think that was a very great presentation, especially for someone who's just been in this industry for 2 years. So congratulations on that. My question for you is, I think, a little bit more conceptual, which is that, you know, when you're speaking to a lawyer and you're speaking to them about legal strategy and how tech can enable them and their growth, that's great, because you know you come in as a person who understands my problem statements. But I would want to understand from you, have you interacted, or what your experience has been about interacting with leadership who doesn't understand what legal does, right? The reason why I'm asking this question is because any counsel that you speak with sitting here, the one question that we always have to, it's an existential question almost, is that how do we convince our organizations from seeing us as a cost center and asking us and bringing in tech to support our cost center, when we are advisors to the company. We are not decision makers yet, right? At least not in most of our teams. So what has your experience been, or have you experienced speaking with leadership who is not legal in your experience?
Well, honestly, I haven't got chance to be in front of leadership to convince, but a very valid point here, because legal as a legal department, we need to get approvals from the CEO, CFOs to get that implementation or the tech cost. What I have seen that the framework what we used impact on business. The problem with legal is until we are into a hardcore litigation or some problem comes in, we aren't important for any other department. So it feels like legal है बस कर रहा है इनको करना है, but जिस दिन litigation आएगा, they would be like, okay, lawyer get in, what were this and that. So the best way is that if we can objectively figure out that what are the problems we are facing and what is the business monetary value. So as I mentioned, let's say we are having lesser contract, like we are having lengthier contract turnaround time, and we saw our clients jumping out of the deals. It's a very significant monetary value that we can attach to the business, that we lost so much of business because of that legal mishap, and it's not in our hand, it's some efficiency we are lacking. So I guess it's always a best way to whatever problem we are trying to solve with the tech, just have an impact of business, solve those, and try to get into a monetary value. Like, I am not sure how well it answers. Now, if we say with the compliances, you would see we picked up with every discussion, compliances are changing so rapidly. So how are we gonna tell that to business? So let's say the penalties we could possibly pay if we miss that, or the whatever obligations we are posed by the government. The Paytm case, that is something interesting. It was the compliance mishap, and even the greatest of the startup leaders, Vijay Shankar Mehta, had so much problem. It was a compliance mishap. So such examples are very easy to put up to management, that we need to be more proactive with the legal as an aspect, not something more reactive when the mishap is happening. So I guess that is the best way to go with, but this is a very valid question, and I would be happy to delve into more that how we can make this more objective, how to go with management to get this approved.
Ranjan, I think even I have a question for you, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's something which is coming from a fear, okay? So I think first time legals have fear for other things as well, but nonetheless. So I was evaluating a tool, okay? That tool would have helped my team into doing cross-referencing better. So I have my contracts which ramble on for 350 pages, 400 pages, right? So I wanted to get a tool so that I don't have to check if 1A represents 1A and 2A represents 2B, right? All that story. But the thing is, when I got into that tool, I thought that when I draft a clause and when this tool was not available, I had a visual memory of a clause here, right? I know that section 13 is the one which is talking about termination, 11 is the one which is talking about indemnity, right? It is right here. If I'll make my team dependent on such tools, probably they will lose such visualization techniques, right? I have over the time, as a part of my profession, learned how to visualize a contract in my head so that I can navigate this whole contract, a major deal, in my head. Do you think using AI, I would somehow lose my natural intelligence? And that is something which I really don't want. I don't want my lawyers to lose their key skills, one of which is visualizing a contract.
That's a very interesting aspect, like the unique I have all heard of. So I would see that we as a lawyer have this nature of seeing both the sides of the things, some negative, some positive. So of course, tech has some hindrances, some negative issues, but I see tech not in that way. But let's say there are more than 100 contracts of a type. Now, of course, by the session the sir is very insightful and experienced. But let's say if we want to imply that same skill with the 100 contracts, is it possible in the normal course?
So I think what Ananya is trying to say here, it's something that I feel very deeply about, is that do we want to train our young counsels on the way that in a scenario where they are absolutely dependent on a technology versus where someday somewhere the power goes off and AI is not available, and then I have to step in because they are not able to visualize, right? It's pretty simple, right? It's very easy to generate say an indemnity clause with AI, but generating that clause with AI is one thing, but knowing what comprises an indemnity clause, right? What are the components that have to be included in an indemnity clause is a very different skill set. So when we are talking about legal tech, and very interestingly, I was talking about this in one of my previous conferences as well with a lawyer, and he said that, in India, legal tech can never be successful because in India, we like to keep our briefs very, very specific to the law firm that we're working at, and they're not standardized anywhere, and we don't want the AI to be trained on it, right? So there is a cultural aspect to it as well, but I think what Ananya is also trying to say is that, are we compromising on the quality of the legal profession when it comes to legal tech and making ourselves more dependent on the tech and forgetting what the essence of the big picture is that we are trying to protect. I think, Ananya.
Very crippling. That's the thing. I think I don't want my lawyers to be crippled.
Exactly.
Right. And I really think this is going to be a Wall-E scenario, right, where they'll be depending on technology so heavily that I have learned the way I do things in a certain way, right? I don't know anything better. I can't change my approach towards learning a way, of drafting a contract for that matter, right? So do you really think that AI is a supportive mechanism, or it at some point in time would be a real replacement to some sort of work which we do?
I will start with the term replacement. So a very crisp answer, it will never be a replacement, of course, because legal is a very human driven process. Now coming to that fact, that crippling of the skills, I would agree, because I am having my own company. I don't know the any clause of employment agreement, but I yet drafted with AI. And I feel like I have done the best job as a lawyer. So yeah, that's something we are downscaling as well. But it's like that conversation we do. Like there are some posts in WhatsApp, we see that today we are doing WhatsApps. We are missing that touch of sending letters. We feel like we are not connected, but that's not a valid answer to deprive the efficiency of sending over WhatsApp or emails. So I think not seeing that on fundamental level, by the problem level, you would see tech as a best answer to some of the scenarios. And that is something. It's not about replacement, it's about solving problems in the best way. So let's say again, of course, upskilling is something that is very fundamental to the industry. And maybe tech is not something on an individual level. But when we see you as general counsels operating so high stake business, things are always has to be top of your mind, in top of your fingers and reachable. And I guess tech is that facility that allows you to do that. Yeah, upskilling, so it's always that approach of using something for the betterment, not for your negative. Like our parents scold us for using mobile phones. Instead, if you're watching something fruitful, it's good. If you're doing something bad about it, it's negative. So that's what I can say about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I think you dwelled upon that point. Um, and just the example of earlier the postcards and letters being replaced by WhatsApp. So definitely we as lawyers need to use AI as our tools. It's always given that whatever AI is given, this is a statutory warning in any and every AI tool. AI outputs could be wrong. It
Yeah.
should be thoroughly verified by a human. Regulations globally are mandating this, and you should ask your teams to validate whatever is the AI output and you hold them accountable. You should ask them those questions. So that way they'll get the best of both worlds. They'll be able to get that swift responses which would shorten the review time, and again they would know in and out of it the checklist and all. Making it manually of a 200-page document could take time. They get it from AI, review it, and then do it. So what today a 7-8 year lawyer would do, that a person fresh out of college can do. So make it only as a tool. Do not replace it from as a substitute of human wisdom.
That's a very good point, ma'am.
But
Yeah.
of course, like what I think what Ananya and I was for the pointing at was that there is a nuance. I hope everybody's able to hear me just like that. But I think like just with technology, I think there's a little bit of a risk that we're taking, which is that like when I was trained in the beginning part of my career, my manager used to sort of have a look at everything that I did. We deep dived into everything. He explained everything to me, etc. But now that nuance may slightly be lost because somebody might generate something from AI and say that, you know what, I've done my job. But the thing is that AI has biases, AI has hallucinations. So it may just, like you said, it's not accurate information, right? So are we losing that nuance of actually human to human training, which will give them that, that big picture of the thing of the business, to say that okay, if you're drafting an indemnity clause, what are the things that you have to take care of for your company, not what the AI is telling you. Forget about what AI has generated for you, but look at how you contextualize that for your company. And that I think can't be done with technology. We can bring a little bit of efficiency and save time.
As a manager still
Continues, exactly.
Yeah. So none of the levels will have to lose the human touch.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is why technology is not a replacement. It's a
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah. I guess that was all my time. Thank you so much for being a patient listeners. Good day.